It was a balmy summer evening when I decided to go for a run in my mom's neighborhood. The setting sun cast long shadows across the quiet streets, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, creating an illusion of serenity. Little did I know, that evening would unravel into a nightmare that still haunts my every step. As I jogged along the familiar streets, the rhythm of my footsteps echoed in harmony with my racing heartbeat. The neighborhood seemed deserted, rapid in an area quiet that sent shivers down my spine. Ignoring the uneasy, I continued my run, my breath creating misty clouds in the cooling air. That's when I noticed it, a black truck, ominous and out of place, trailing me with an unrelenting persistence. Panic set in as I quickened my pace, but the truck mirrored my every move. I tried to convince myself it was a mere coincidence, but the gut feeling, that primal instinct, told me otherwise. Desperation consumed me as I took sharp turns, hoping to shake off my unwanted pursuer. The once familiar streets transformed into a labyrinth, each corner trapping me further in this macabre game. My senses heightened, and every rustle of leaves or distant hum of the wind felt like a sinister prelude. As I turned into a dimly lit cul-de-sac, the black truck pulled up alongside, revealing the face of the malevolent driver. His eyes, cold and devoid of humanity, bore into mine. Fear surged through my veins as I sprinted towards the nearest house, pounding on the door with frantic urgency. The door creaked open, revealing a couple, their expressions a mix of concern and confusion. Without hesitation, I rushed inside, explaining the situation between gasps for breath. The couple, empathetic and understanding, offered refuge and called the police. As I sat in their living room, enveloped in the warmth of their kindness, the reality of the situation sank in. The police arrived promptly, but the black truck had vanished into the shadows. I provided a statement, my hands trembling as I recounted the harrowing experience. Days passed, and the neighborhood returned to its facade of normalcy. I remained on edge, haunted by the possibility that the sinister truck might resurface. That's when an unexpected revelation unfolded. The couple who had rescued me shared a chilling connection to my dad's neighborhood. They spoke of a similar black truck, a ghostly presence that had terrorized their community. My heart raced as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The tendrils of fear had stretched beyond my mom's neighborhood, connecting the threads of terror to my own home. In the following weeks, the police investigation unearthed a horrifying truth: a network of black trucks, shadowy figures preying on unsuspecting victims. The sinister web extended its reach far and wide, weaving through the tapestry of neighborhoods. As the investigation unfolded, the advice I would share with anyone who listens echoes in my mind. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Seek refuge in the familiar, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Evil may lurk in unexpected places, but so does kindness. The sinister encounter in my mom's neighborhood served as a chilling reminder. The shadows may hide the malevolent, but it's the light of compassion and vigilance that guides us through the darkest paths. It was a crisp autumn evening, and the sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows over the sprawling fields that bordered our suburban town. As an avid runner, I relished the solitude of the less-traveled roads that cut through the vast farmland. Little did I know that on this particular evening, my peaceful jog would transform into a nightmare. The rhythmic thud of my running shoes echoed in the quiet countryside. The air was filled with the earthy scent of fallen leaves, creating a serene backdrop for my evening run. The sun's last rays painted the sky in hues of orange and pink as I ventured deeper into the winding roads. As I turned onto a narrow path flanked by tall cornfields, a sense of isolation settled in. The only company I had was the rustling of dry leaves beneath my feet and the distant hum of insects. That's when I noticed it, a faint sound, like the distant purr of an engine. Glancing over my shoulder, I saw a pair of headlights emerging from the shadows. A car, its silhouette menacing against the dying light, was slowly closing the gap between us. My heart quickened as the headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the cornstalks. I increased my pace, hoping the car would pass by, but it persisted, tailing me with a relentless determination. Panic set in as I fumbled for my phone, my trembling fingers dialing 911. With each step, The car's headlights bore down on me like predatory eyes. Desperation engulfed me. But then, a stroke of luck, I spotted an abandoned farmhouse up ahead. Summoning all my courage, I veered off the road and sprinted towards the dilapidated structure. The car hesitated for a moment before speeding away, leaving me trembling in the fading twilight. Breathing a sigh of relief, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a walkie-talkie I always carried for emergencies. As I recounted the harrowing experience to the police, they assured me they would investigate. However, the true horror awaited me at the police station. The officer's face grew pale as he looked at the photograph I handed him. It was a still frame from a surveillance camera near the farmhouse. The image revealed something that chilled me to the bone. The driver of the car was wearing a grotesque mask, a twisted mockery of a human face. It wasn't a random encounter. I was being targeted by someone with malicious intent. Weeks passed, and the town was gripped by fear as more reports surfaced of the masked driver terrorizing other runners. The police were no closer to catching this elusive predator, and a sense of unease permeated our once tranquil community. One night, unable to shake off the fear that haunted me, I revisited the site of my encounter. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the empty fields. As I stood there, a sudden realization struck me. The stalks of corn seemed to whisper secrets in the wind. Compelled by an inexplicable force, I ventured into the cornfields, guided only by the haunting whispers that grew louder with every step. The air became thick with tension, and the moonlit shadows played tricks on my senses. Then, in the heart of the cornfields, I stumbled upon a hidden clearing. In the center stood a weathered scarecrow, its burlap face twisted into a nightmarish grin. As the wind rustled through the corn, the scarecrow seemed to come alive, its hollow eyes fixating on me. A chilling revelation struck me. The scarecrow was not just a lifeless effigy. It was the embodiment of the malevolent force that had haunted our town. The mask-wearing driver, the whispers in the wind, they all pointed to this sinister entity. With a surge of terror, I fled the clearing and raced back to the safety of the road. The next day, I shared my discovery with the police, who were skeptical but decided to investigate the eerie clearing. To their horror, they found the remnants of a twisted ritual, evidence of dark forces at play. The nightmare in the fields had a name, and it wasn't human. The scarecrow, imbued with malevolence, had terrorized our town. The police worked tirelessly to cleanse the land of its sinister influence, but the scars of that night lingered. To those who venture into the outskirts of our town, I offer a cautionary tale. Be wary of the fields that whisper in the wind, for there are forces beyond our understanding that lurk in the shadows. And if you ever hear the distant hum of an engine echoing through the quiet countryside, run. Run as if your life depends on it. For in these fields, nightmares come to life. It was a bone-chilling night in the small town of Ridgefield, New Jersey. The streets were deserted, shrouded in an eerie silence that only the night could bring. The cold wind whispered through the trees, sending shivers down my spine as I stood alone at the dimly lit bus stop. My name is Emily, a regular commuter who relied on the late-night bus to get back home after long shifts at the diner. This particular night, however, would become a chapter in my life I'd never forget. The bus was running late, and impatience wrapped itself around me like a heavy blanket. As I peered into the darkness, I noticed a distant figure approaching. A jogger emerged from the shadows, his footsteps echoing eerily in the silent night. I didn't pay much attention at first, assuming he was just another late-night runner. The bus finally arrived, and I boarded with a sigh of relief. Little did I know that this mundane late-night bus ride would transform into a waking nightmare. I was engrossed in my phone, scrolling through social media to pass the time. The bus made its regular stops, and I failed to notice when we reached my destination. Lost in my own world, I looked up to realize I had missed my stop. Panicking, I pulled the cord, hoping the driver would stop at the next one. The bus halted, and I descended into the cold night. Alone, disoriented, and with no other choice, I began the long walk back to my stop. The wind seemed to whisper ominous secrets as I navigated the desolate streets. As I approached the dimly lit bus stop, a shiver ran down my spine. The same jogger from before appeared, standing motionless under the flickering light. His face hidden beneath a hood, he stared at me with an intensity that sent a chill through my bones. Unease settled in my stomach as I quickened my pace, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched, but every turn I took, every glance over my shoulder, revealed the jogger still behind me, never breaking his gaze. Heart pounding, I finally reached my apartment complex. I sprinted to the entrance, fumbling with my keys, my breaths ragged. The jogger lingered at the edge of the complex, his presence a lingering menace in the night. Weeks passed, and the encounter faded into a disturbing memory. Until one day a news report caught my attention. A series of assaults had occurred at late-night bus stops in Ridgefield. The victims described a jogger with a haunting intensity, matching the man I had encountered. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around my heart. I realized the unsettling stranger I had encountered that night was more than just a passing threat. He was a predator, preying on unsuspecting souls at bus stops in the dead of night. The chilling reality sank in. I had narrowly escaped a fate that befell others. The darkness concealed his sinister intentions, and I was left haunted by the thought of what could have transpired that night. To those who commute late at night, I offer a word of caution. Be vigilant. If something feels off, don't hesitate to seek help. Evil often wears a familiar face, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As I share this harrowing experience, I implore you, dear listener, to stay safe and remain vigilant in the night. The world is filled with shadows, and sometimes the monsters within them are all too real.